Hello and welcome to Action Playbook Live. This is our new NFL pregame show here at the Action Network. We're really excited about it, and we've got heavy hitters with us today. We're going to do as much as we can over the next hour. We're going to cover player props, touchdowns. We're going to have some lottos, luck rankings. We're going to look at the latest betting trends entering week one. And joining me off the hop, two of my good friends here at Action Network, two of the sharpest bettors I know, most accurate fantasy rankers in the game today. That is Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon. Gentlemen, week one, this has got to be like a grown-ups version of Christmas, at least for me. Like when I enter Sunday, week one, how does it feel for you guys entering week one with all the off-season work we've done? Sean, you
just
want to go
like a
first?
just like a dog, just
Yeah, I
ready,
mean,
just oof,
yeah, no,
teething
I
at the
I
mouth.
am yeah, I am excited. This is like Christmas. Can't wait. Although week two is even better because we actually have some data to go off of, but ready to let it rip today.
Yeah, and Raybon was mentioning we might have some inactives coming through as we
Yeah.
do the show, so we might have to be a little paying attention here off to the side. Now, we're going to give out a ton of bets here today. I want to remind everybody, if you want to tail any of these bets, the easiest way is to use the quick slips in the YouTube chat. We're going to be dropping those throughout the show, and basically after every pick we make, it'll drop into the chat. Then you can easily tail all the picks given out because, again, when you have props coming out from somebody like Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon, those lines will move. So trust me, you want to be able to get in there as soon as possible. And before we get started as well, if you want access to all of Action Pro projections, make sure to sign up for an annual subscription to Action Pro. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Kerner, Chris Raybon, all the members of the Action Analytics team, along with their anytime touchdown projections, which absolutely crushed last year. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today and use code POD20 at sign up. One more time, that's POD20 at sign up for $20 off. All right, let's get started with some player props. I want to get going here. Sean, what is your favorite player prop entering week one?
Yeah, so I love the David Montgomery under 10.5 rush attempt prop right now. You can get it at minus 104. Raybon knows how much this pains me. This might be the first time I've ever faded Montgomery since he's been a member of the Lions. But you have to look at last season. It was essentially, the perfect storm for Monty to rack up carries. The Lions led for a league leading 36 minutes per game. So that's just going to increase their run rate, get Monty on the field more. And his median carries per game was still just 12 last season. So, heading into this year, we could see with Ben Johnson gone, the offense shake up a little bit. Maybe they'll be a bit more pass heavy. Maybe new offensive coordinator John Morton will lean on Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit more, considering, he's arguably one of the best running backs in the league. Entering year three, there's no real reason to preserve him anymore. But also, given the fact the Lions are 1.5 point underdogs today, this could be a rare trailing game script for them. So I'm actually projecting their team rush attempt a bit lower as a result, around 26.5. And I'm getting Monty closer to 9.8 rush attempts at that, with about a 59% chance to stay under 10.5. But that's assuming he has the same share as he did last year. So if Gibbs has an even bigger share of the rush attempts this year, it's only going to help this prop. So I like Dave Montgomery to go under 10.5 rush attempts at minus 104.
All right, well, Monty prop right off the hop, under 10.5 rushing attempts from Sean Kerner. Raybon, it's your turn, man. What are you taking for week one?
I'm going with Julian Hill under 17 and a half receiving yards. Julian Hill, for people that don't know, is the de facto tight end one for the Miami Dolphins with Darren Waller out. Now, he's only gone over 14 receiving yards in 3 of his 31 career games. His career yards per route run number is just 0.52, which means he would need 31 routes for over this prop number. And he's never run more than 20 routes in a game, depending on whether he's been a starter or not. It's just he's a blocking tight end, and he struggled with drops in his career as well. And his backup, Tanner Connor, never has pass blocked in his career. Well, Hill has pass blocked on just about a quarter of his pass blocking snaps. So there's a chance Connor could just be the main receiving tight end anyway. We don't really know. It's a new year. But Hill did start 2 games. He was the tight end one in 2 games for Miami back in 2023. And he ran a route on 58% of the dropbacks. He averaged 5 yards per game with totals of 10 and 0. So give me Julian Hill under 17 and a half receiving yards. The prop should be close to half this, in my opinion.
Man, like to find this obscure tight end under is just perfect Raybon here. This is how I know this show is going to be amazing. So again, Julian Hill under 17 and a half receiving yards. I can't believe that how much they're probably missing Jonnu Smith now at this stage after the Darren Waller fiasco. So, all right, so that's each of Raybon and Kerner's best prop entering the Sunday slate for week 1. He is on David Montgomery under 10 and a half rush attempts, and Raybon is on Julian Hill under 17 and a half receiving yards. A reminder, those links, the quick slip links, if you want to tail those bets, are in the chat. Now, I can't start the show without a touchdown prop. I feel like I have to, and it's one of my favorite props of the week. I'm going to take George Kittle for an anytime touchdown. He has touchdown in 4 of the last 6 games versus the Seahawks with 7 total touchdowns, a lot of upside as well. As kind of just own this matchup. And one of the reasons why I keep going back to a Kittle touchdown, he just excels against both man and zone coverages and just been a red zone monster on that team. 11 targets inside the 10-yard line, 6 touchdowns last year. That was second amongst all tight ends. So with Brandon Ayuk out and just the uncertainty of what we're seeing maybe from Christian McCaffrey in this game, I think George Kittle has a lot of upside to score a touchdown in this matchup. And I just want to remind everybody, spoiler alert, because last season and the season before, I've been hosting the touchdown show. That's not the last touchdown pick we're going to have on the show today. Wait till you see what we have at the end of the show. But that should all do it for Kerner and Raybon. Guys, you take a break. I'll bring you back here in a minute. We are going to now move on to the luck rankings. And we have Dr. Nick Giffen joining me now. Nick, welcome aboard, brother. Luck rankings this year. I wanted to talk to you about that before we talk about the picks, because every year there's like an added wrinkle or maybe an upgrade that you would add to the luck rankings. Can you explain to me just what we did from last year to this year quickly of how we upgraded those and made those more efficient?
Yeah, so the driving force behind our luck rankings is what we call our expected score. That's essentially if 2 teams played the game and they replayed it a million times over with the same game situations, what would we have expected the score to be versus what the score actually was? And that, kind of helps us figure out who got lucky, who got unlucky a little bit there on that specific, one pull out of a million. So we updated our expected score. And what we did is we changed some of our thresholds. We used to have, a luck difference, a luck gap, all sorts of things. Now we just have something called the luck score. Makes it easy. If your luck score is above a certain number, it's a play. If it's not a play. That's pretty much it. So very excited for it. Luck rankings kick off in week 2 with sides, and then in week 3 as well with totals.
So speaking of totals, though, there is a total that might fall within this criteria for week 1. What's the total that you like this week?
Yeah, I mean, technically not, because we don't carry luck rankings over from year to year. So there's no week 1 official luck rankings plays, but I will use it a little bit to inform this pick here. And that is the Seattle-San Francisco game. You just talked about a George Kittle touchdown. I like the over here. And I know I might be one of the few people in the world, it seems like, that likes the over, because I think in our betting splits here, we have something like 80% or more of the bets and the tickets coming in on the under for this game. So you could be able to wait a little bit. And, if you wanted to take an over 43, there's a 43 out there right now. There's even a 42.5 with a little bit of juice, minus 120. But you could wait here, but I like the over. And that's because if this game was last year between these 2 teams, this would be the second highest, what we call luck total of the week. Now you're saying, well, okay, these are last year's teams. What about this year? Well, yeah. Sam Darnold takes over at quarterback for Seattle. Sam Darnold's Minnesota Vikings would also have been a luck over, leaning that way, scoring under expectation. And we always think it's to regress towards expectation. And offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak's Saints also came in under expectation, meaning we should expect higher scoring. So putting them together with a Seattle team that was unlucky on offense last year as well, I think fits. And if we look at both teams, they were net negative defensive spenders, meaning they had more defensive players going out in terms of dollars than coming in over the offseason, with San Francisco actually being dead last in net defensive spending. This defense is going to be downgraded from last year for sure. So that, just means more offense. And if we look at both the first 2 games this year, that opening game between Philly and Dallas, 44 points scored in the first, 28 and a half minutes, and then nothing the rest of the game. Unbelievable. One of the worst beats of the year for the over, which I had. But that expected score would have been over. And both of those teams were net negative defensive spenders. And then also KC and LA were both net negative defensive spenders. And that game did go over. So I'm feeling an over here. 44 is a key number. I love that we're getting 43 and a half or 43 or 42 and a half, depending on what you want to do. You can wait it out, like I said, a little bit because the line is dropping a little bit on maybe on player news and just the fact that everybody loves the under here anyway. So that's my first pick.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up that Philadelphia Dallas game because nothing told me that football was back than that total not going over. One of the worst beats I have seen. The fact that we had 41 points and then had that delay just kind of blew my mind how that didn't go over the 47 and a half. All right, so that is the total you were looking at. Seattle, San Francisco over 43. But Nick, I can't let you get out of here without making a touchdown bet. Tell me, I know that you have one here and it's a specialty. What do you like here for an anytime touchdown in week 1?
Yeah, this has absolutely nothing to do with the luck rankings, but hey, we got to figure something out while we're waiting for week 2. And so what better than a touchdown bet with you, Gilles? Give me Kayshon Boutte for not an anytime touchdown, but specifically a second half touchdown at 17-1. Look, I'm going second half because there's rain in the forecast for the first half, but that chance of rain drops significantly in the second half. And what I really wanted to do, Gilles, and apologies to you because I know you're on his interception, but I really wanted to take Drake May over 1.5 passing touchdowns, but with the weather forecast showing first half rain, I couldn't get to a full game touchdown pass bet on Drake May. So I can't bet his second half touchdown passes. Right. I don't see that available anywhere. So let's go with one of his top receivers that shows the most value in our pro projections, powered by Sean, Chris Raybon. And so specifically a second half touchdown on Kayshon Boutte. And this Raiders secondary is awful. It could be one of the worst secondaries in the league. They were also net negative spenders on defense with them losing actually key pieces of their secondary. Meanwhile, the Patriots upgrade their offensive line significantly. Remember the big problem with them last year is they couldn't stop a nosebleed. But this year, they got Morgan Moses on right tackle. They had the 4th overall draft pick. They used it on left tackle Will Campbell. He has an ankle injury, but indications are he's going to play, but still waiting on official news on that. They upgraded at center. So that should afford Drake May so much more protection than he had last year. And just to tie it into the luck rankings, the Patriots would have been the unlucky team in this matchup had this game been played last year as well. So Kayshon Boutte, second half touchdown, 17-1.
This is giving me Jamar Chase vibes, like when we used to do that last year with the second half touchdown. This is actually the second touchdown bet you have for this game because you also have our guy, Trey Mother Tucker. Yeah, you got the jersey on. Beautiful. Yeah, we got that in at 8-1. I think it's still around 7-1 just as we were doing the show here now. So, Nick, Big Nick Energy Dude, thank you for joining me. That's all for the luck rankings with Dr. Nick Giffen. Make sure to follow him at the Action app at Nick_Giffen. He's going to be joining me next week as well to talk about the luck rankings. Nick, thank you very much.
Of course. Good luck.
All right. Now, if you're on Twitter, we have a great new feature at Action Network. It is called Playbook. So what you do is if you see a bet from any of your favorite action experts or really anyone on gambling Twitter, and you want to tail that bet, all you have to do is tag Playbook under the post, and our AI bot will build you a bet slip at a sportsbook of your choice. It's that simple. You don't have to try and find what menu the bets are or all the different parlay legs. Just use Playbook and build your bets the easy way. All right, we now welcome our Director of Research, Evan Abrams. This is my go-to guy when I want to talk about the latest betting trends and data entering the NFL season. Now, Evan, we're entering week 1. I got to get to you. What's the top of mind for you that we should be paying attention to, especially on a spread standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, we should just start with the markets. So the two biggest moves in terms of the spread this morning was Jacksonville going from -3.5 to 4.5 against Carolina. And recently, as we just came on the air, Cincinnati now down to -4.5 against Cleveland. That line was as high as 6 this morning, 5.5, a 1-point jump. To me, one of the more interesting storylines would just be the total in Jets Steelers. So it was about 38 and a half, now down to 37 and a half, which would be tied for the lowest week one over under since 2011. Now, the funny thing is the common theme in those two games since 2011 and week one with those low totals, Justin Fields is a starting quarterback since it was the Bears and 49ers. The one trend, and this is just more of a fun trivia you can kind of go with. Which NFL team holds the active streak for consecutive week ones as an underdog? They are also an underdog today. I'll give you the answer. It
Can I
is the
guess?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, please guess. Guess.
And again, I was going to guess the obvious answer. I thought it was going to be the Cleveland Browns. Am I wrong on
Okay.
that? Who was?
It's not Cleveland.
That was the obvious answer. So I guess that would be the top of my head. So go ahead, give us the answer. What was
It,
it?
a- it actually shocked me, which is why, I mean, it makes sense that it's a team, but it is still shocking. 13 straight years, including today, the New York Giants were last favored in week one back in 2012, Eli Manning. So it has been a difficult road for them. And then I'll give you one more. So on Bet Labs right now, which is where all this software and all these trends kind of come from, we now have a new Discord. So in that Discord, we're giving out picks, automation through systems, free sheets, daily market information. We have two picks today. So we're looking at week one road dogs that missed the playoffs last year. That's hitting at 62% against the spread, covering by almost 3 points per game. Panthers and Raiders are two of the teams we are looking at. About 2.5 for the Raiders, and now and with the Jags up to 4.5, you're getting over another key number there with Carolina. It's about $20 a week to start. So take a look. Week one right here. Get into that Bet Labs Discord. You can find it on the Twitter profile. There's a link there.
Awesome. Evan, great stuff as always, dude. Thank you for joining us this week. We're going to see you next week. We'll talk more trends, more data, and good luck on week one.
See you later.
All right, let's now move to a fun portion of the show. We're going to play the lottery, and we're going to take it up a notch here. This is probably my most fun part of the show, and we are going to enlist the help of the one and only, the Dong Master himself, Grant Neefer, because he just crushes it daily with home run picks in Major League Baseball. He's always somebody that I'd like to see as well on what touchdown bets he has. He's in the Parlay Science Discord. He's always finding plus EV parlays. Grant, you got to give the people what they want. Can you give us a touchdown lotto parlay for us for week one?
Oh, I can. I got a four-legger for you. You can get it around 60 to 1 both at DK and FanDuel. And don't forget, there's a no sweat token over on FanDuel and part profit boost on both DK and FanDuel. So this is a great way to use both of them. Four leg, 60 to 1. Let's get started with David Montgomery, 155. Now, this line's just a too high here. Montgomery's still probably going to get a decent amount of goal line work. Had tons of touchdowns last season. Still going to be used heavily in this offense, regardless of what Sean over there thinks. It's still a spot where there is some value on him at plus 150. Next up, Devontae Adams plus 150. We don't know exactly what he's going to look like in this offense, but we do know McVay wants to use his wide receivers. Stafford wants to use his wide receivers. Adams is probably the best red zone target. We know in the past they've just kind of run the ball in every single time they get into the end zone. But Adams brings another dimension to this offense where he will be utilized in the red zone, I believe, and plus 150 odds too high. Next up, David Njoku, plus 280 is an absurd line. Matchup, absolutely fantastic versus Cincy. This could be a real barn burner here, high scoring game. Flacco, we have not seen in this offense in a year or two. And last time he was in it, 4 touchdowns to Njoku. Should be heavily using him here. And last year, pretty much all of Njoku's touchdowns came when Winston was in the lineup. Absolutely crushed when Winston was there. So now as a competent quarterback that's not Deshaun Watson, should be in for a lot of use, and he's honestly just fantastic too. Big body, should be getting a lot of red zone usage. Then lastly, Drake London. Doesn't have to deal with Kirk Cousins this year. Had a ton of touchdowns last year, 9 in 16 games, 17 games. Heavily used, was the majority, almost the majority of the passing touchdowns last season. Big body guy, should be heavily used, should have a 35% target share when he's running routes this year. He's going to be fantastic. And plus 150, we're probably not going to see this number again on him in a good matchup for the rest of the year. And this is a great matchup versus Tampa Bay, who allowed the second most passing yards last season and should still allow a lot this season. So parlay them all together, 60 to 1. Again, no sweat profit boosts are a great way to use this parlay.
Well, and even though it is no sweat, I will just say, as somebody who has gone heads up with Kerner on props and touchdown props, that you will get a little sweaty. I'll just say because like I used like for example Quentin Johnston like for example, and that was one where I was like sweating the whole time, and then he finally caught one. So just one of those things that like if you're going up against Kerner, you just know that it could be a little sweaty sometimes. So, but that is the four leg parlay. So I just want to recap for you. That is David Montgomery touchdown, Devontae Adams touchdown, David Njoku, and Drake London. You parlay all four of those. That's 60 to 1 right now at both DraftKings and FanDuel. You can tail that in the chat with the link below. All right. Now, Sean, we're looking at rookie wide receivers here. So I know a lot of the time when you kind of start to see some upside in some of these players, I love to listen because a lot of the time, if they're going over their prop, they're going way over. So what is the way that you want to attack this week of a parlay for week one?
So I'm going to go with some under the radar rookie wide receivers. I'm high on entering week one, and all these four wide receivers were drafted in round two, round three, round four, and round five. But I think they're sneaky plays to all clear 25 yards today. And the first up is Dante Thornton Jr.
Yep.
Of the Raiders. Next up is Torrey Horton of the Seahawks. Then I'm going with Jaden Higgins of the Texans, and closing it out with Isaac Tisla of the Lions. And it pays out around plus 1918 over on DraftKings. But with Thornton and Horton, they were both drafted in rounds 4 and 5, but they should have prominent roles in week one. Thornton was actually named as a week one starter already. So love those two. Jaden Higgins obviously is going to have to step up with Christian Kirk out today. I was high on him entering the season. Kind of reminds me a little bit of T. Higgins. No relation there. And Isaac Tisla is definitely the long shot of this group. He might be the fourth or fifth weapon in this loaded Lions offense, but I think he's a sneaky bet to get, one or two explosive catches today. So like throwing him in there to go over 25 yards as well. And like I said, this pays out just under 20 to 1.
Well, and I think I'm pretty good on knowing depth charts for all teams. When you put in Isaac Tesla in there, I thought you made that name up initially. I was like, wait a minute, is that? So the fact that we have him and on that Lions offense, that's awesome. So when we parlay these four, as Kerner had mentioned, it is just under 20 to 1 on DraftKings. That's a really fun way to be able to get involved where you're looking at 25 receiving yards for each one. Everybody playing a little bit of a role here. So, all right. So that is the lotto section of today's show for Action Playbook Live. Grant, thank you for joining me. We'll see you next week. Sean, you stick with me. Let's bring Raybon back on here. We're going to talk about Sunday Night Football now, and that is Ravens-Bills. Ravens right now, slight favorites at -1, total of about 50.5. Gentlemen, I want to build a same game parlay for this. Kerner, why don't you get us started? What do you like for a player prop to do for this same game parlay?
Yeah, let's kick it off with Justice Hill, over 18.5 receiving yards. This could be a rare neutral or trailing game script even for the Ravens here, which gives Hill specifically a boost. Patrick Ricard and Isaiah Likely are both out, so we might see less heavier personnel sets. Maybe, an extra player or two for Hill's, package of plays. Plus, with Likely out, that could lead to an extra target for Hill specifically. And the Bills, they struggled against running backs in the passing game. They allowed a league high 44 yards per game to running backs in the receiving game last year. So this sets up as, a perfect spot for Hill. This is the market he specializes in. So let's, start off with Justice Hill over 18.5 receiving yards.
Okay, so the one thing I want to get clarification on is just because sometimes, like where we have official plays or lean plays, is this an official play, or do you feel like this is more of a lean and then we'll wait till closer to kickoff?
This is a lean, and I like how it jives with what you guys are going to do. And the fact that it is a lean and not an official play, it means it has about like 100% chance to hit. That's usually the way it goes. But I'm going to dive into the rest of the game. Potentially, post this as my official play or a different play before kickoff tonight.
For sure. And also, if you end up having that play, like you can lock it in the app first, and we'll be able to see the best of the number because if you're an Action Pro subscriber, you're going to get those real-time alerts when we lock in those picks, specifically from Kerner and Raybon. Now, Raybon, it is your turn. What is your best bet for Sunday Night Football?
It's Ravens money line. I already played this, so you can take this as an official play. I played the Ravens on the spread, but like them on the money line now that they're slight favorites. I just have the Ravens rated above the Bills in my season long power rankings. I think the Ravens are the better team, and you look at Harbaugh; he's always had them prepared in week one. They're 12-5 straight up and against the spread in week one historically. Josh Allen. Now that the Bills are a dog, if you look at Josh Allen, he's actually under 500 when the Bills are a money line dog, just 47%. So that is somewhat significant. I think that's the right way to go. Just look at this Bills defense. I still have questions. I know they spent a ton of draft picks on that defense early, but you have Tre'Davious White looks like he's gonna miss. You have questions at linebacker. You brought back the entire linebacking core, but you were one of the worst linebacking cores in the league, which is why Sean likes Justice Hill in this spot. And you also have questions at safety. And I think even without Isaiah Likely and Ricard, I think Baltimore is still set up to take advantage of this Bills defense, whether it's with Andrews on the inside, Zay Flowers, Bateman, Hopkins on the outside. So love Baltimore in this spot. Give me the Ravens on the money line.
For sure. And that regular season matchup last year, it wasn't even close. If we see more of the same from what we saw then, it could be the game could get out of hand pretty quickly. And on the Ravens side, I like a touchdown, but I like Rashad Bateman to score a touchdown in this game. Finally broke out last year, 9 touchdowns, 5 of them in the red zone. You had kind of already mentioned about this Bills secondary and their defense, even though they did invest in it. I'm still dubious. I think they could be exploited. They're bottom 10 in both passing yards and receiving touchdowns allowed last year. A lot of zone under Sean McDermott. So for me, I think Rashad Bateman fits the criteria because he led the Ravens with 5 receiving touchdowns versus zone. So I'm going to add that in. I think that will all correlate together. We've got Justice Hill over 18.5 receiving yards, paired with Baltimore money line, and we're going to add in Rashad Bateman for a touchdown. Right now, that parlay is plus 950 at DraftKings if you wanted to tail that. And as I mentioned before, we have dropped the link in the YouTube chat to help you immediately build this parlay, and then that way you can get it added to your bet slip. All right, Kerner, you're off the hook, bud. We're gonna move now to some touchdowns, and the touchdown show portion is starting now. And I had such a fun time hosting the touchdown show, Raybon, over the last couple of years. I just wanted to keep that tradition of running our ending of the Sunday show with some touchdown bets. So you're going to join me here today. We've got the same format. We're going to do a mild bet, a medium bet, and a spicy bet. Essentially what that means is mild, more of like our favorite. Medium is kind of that mid-tier, plus 200 to plus 400. And then spicy is just anything over 5 to 1. So let's start it off. Raybon, what is your favorite anytime touchdown bet entering week 1?
I got to go with my guy, Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. You can get about minus 140, I think is the best. You can get him a little more juiced up in that at some other spots, but 30 rushing touchdowns in 34 career home games. Compared to just 21 rushing touchdowns in 33 road games. I think Taylor's touchdown odds will increase a little bit without Anthony Richardson starting the game for the Colts. Richardson had 6 touchdowns in 11 starts on the ground in 2024. And you look at this, Miami Dolphins defense, and it's a pretty decent front seven. But overall, I think the Colts will be able to move the ball better than they did last year with Anthony Richardson at the helm, which means Taylor should, again, just see his touchdown odds slightly increasing due to the, improvement on offense, even if it's slight with Daniel Jones at quarterback. So give me JT minus 140 against the Dolphins.
Yeah, and I think there's even upside for even 2 touchdowns in this game. Right now, looking at our Action Pro projections for anytime touchdowns, both Jonathan Taylor's anytime touchdown and his multi-touchdown props are showing a little bit of an odds edge right now if you're wanting to ladder Taylor touchdowns. So Chris Raybon, you are on Jonathan Taylor to score a touchdown against that Miami Dolphins defense. I'm going to step on Grant Nefer's toes a little bit. I'm going to take David Njoku. I grabbed him at plus 250. It's around plus 280 now. The one thing that I just loved with Njoku is in his time with Flacco, his targets rate per route run is nearly double with him compared to when he was with Deshaun Watson or Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And even in 2 games last year versus the Bengals, 24 targets and a touchdown, and that was with Watson and DTR at quarterback. So imagine how the upside will be with somebody like Flacco who will push the ball downfield. And then, of course, Bengals bottom 5 in targets, catches, and yards and touchdowns. They did very little to improve their defense. So I think Dave Njoku is my favorite anytime touchdown bet of the week. All right, let's move it up. Let's kick it up a notch, Raybon. What's your next one?
For medium, got to go back to my guy Trevor Lawrence here. I've been talking about this one a bit over the week, but still like it. Still looks like you could get it around plus 425. Lawrence at home against the Panthers. 7 rushing touchdowns in his last 17 games for Trevor Lawrence. And now we're hearing Jacksonville may employ their own version of the tush push. That would obviously be good for Lawrence's touchdown upside because you do run that play near the goal line. And we'll see who's active and who's inactive for the Jaguars. But it's notable that, of their running backs, which 4 are on the 53-man roster, 2 are rookies in Tootin and Allen. And then Travis Etienne, who's expected to start, has struggles near the goal line with fumbles in the past. So that could even be more of a reason for the Jaguars and new coach Liam Cohen to give Lawrence a shot running it in on the goal line. And this line, as our guy Evan Abrams mentioned earlier, has increased from Jags. It was about 3.5 for much of the week. It's gone up to 4.5, lately, as we come near to kickoff time. So that just increases the Jaguars' projected team total if you're looking at it that way. And I think that's right. I think the Panthers are in trouble today. I think the Jaguars ball out. So love Trevor Lawrence plus 425 at home against the Panthers.
Well, I think it was some of the most blatant coach speak I've ever seen when Liam Cohen did that interview and he was like, oh, we're going to do this. And he's 6'6" and he has the capability. It's like, oh man, like that's like a huge endorsement for Trevor Lawrence anytime touchdown. I'm surprised that it didn't just completely plummet after that kind of interview, because usually when head coaches come out and say that kind of stuff, it can move markets on that front. So the fact that we're still getting it over plus 400, I love Trevor Lawrence to score a touchdown against the Panthers today. I'm going to move to the Saints-Cardinals game. I've got an anytime touchdown for that game. I'm taking Rashid Shaheed. He's around plus 370 to score an anytime touchdown. He had 4 touchdowns in 6 games last year before getting hurt. And I think he's one of the few legit playmakers in this offense. He has a special teams touchdown in each of the last 2 seasons. And this Cardinals defense, they play a lot of zone, but they were pretty poor defending the deep ball. And that kind of does well for Rashid Shaheed, who has done historically much better against zone coverage and led the team in ADOT. So he might be able to get a couple deep throws, especially with head coach Kellen Moore dialing up maybe a couple long passes here. So Rashid Shaheed is my second anytime touchdown bet of the day. Raybon, it's time to kick it up, bro. What is the spicy touchdown bet for you this week?
Go Troy Franklin of the Denver Broncos, 5-1 against the Tennessee Titans. And this is one of kind of my favorite type of week 1 plays where there's a bit of uncertainty, I think, in the market about, the snap counts for some of these Denver receivers. But if you've been paying attention all offseason, Troy Franklin has been just an emerging star in camp in his second season and locked up a starting receiver role. Now, it looks like it's going to be the number 3 role. And that, they traded Davon Vele, who was their number 3 receiver, their big slot last year. So Franklin looks like he's going to slide right into that role. That should be good for about a 65% route run rate. But Marvin Mims was also playing every down in the preseason, and he didn't really do that in the regular season. So if he plays less, I think that benefits Franklin, who could easily, take those snaps and be the number 2 receiver. So I like this spot. I think Tennessee still has issues at corner, both outside and inside. And remember, Franklin can move between outside and inside. And of course, he has that chemistry with Bo Nix dating back to their days playing with Oregon. And, that could be big because Denver we love their offense this year. They do have a bunch of new pieces, though. When you talk about Ingram, Bryant, you have Harvey, Dobbins. So Franklin will be one of the few kind of recognizable faces in this Denver starting lineup here. For Bo Nix. So like his odds of scoring a touchdown, I think they're much better than 5-1.
All right. The college roommate handicap. I love that for a touchdown prop. All right. So Troy Franklin is the spicy bet for Chris Raybon. Now I've got a spicy bet. I'm looking to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine with the Dolphins, moving to the Dolphins from the Titans. Raybon, you crushed it with Nick Westbrook-Akine last year.
Yeah. Well, he crushed it.
Well,
I didn't do. Don't give me any credit.
Well,
He's the
you
guy
started
who's getting in
putting
the
me
end zone
onto
every
it.
week.
I know, but I got to give credit to somebody, and it can't just be him. So, scored in 8 of 17 games last year, and I'm pretty sure of those 8 games, you had told me you should bet on him in 4 of them at least. So, 32 catches on the year, but again, 8 touchdowns, second most profitable anytime touchdown score at 51 units. For me, he was the anytime touchdown MVP last season, and playing the Colts, which he scored on in both games as a Titan in 2024. So, I love Nick Westbrook-Akine, especially at that price at plus 650. So, Raybon, before we get out of here, I think we should take 3 of these bets. Let's make a touchdown show parlay. But before we do that, I want to remind everybody, if you're on Twitter, we have a great new feature here at Action Network. It's called Playbook. And if you see a bet from any of your favorite action experts or anyone on gambling Twitter, you can now tag Playbook, and the AI bot will respond under the post with a bet slip and a quick slip link to a sportsbook of your choice. It's that simple. That way you don't have to try and find what menu the bets are under or all the different parlay legs. All you got to do is use Playbook and build your bets the easy way. All right, Raybon, I took 2 of your bets and made this, so I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor for the anytime touchdown and putting that as the first leg. Then I'm going to take David Njoku for an anytime touchdown. But I think the third leg, I think Trevor Lawrence is the guy that we have to have here, because I think there's a lot of upside, especially given that I don't think that run defense is good at all on the Panthers side. So getting that right now at 33-1 at DraftKings. What do you think of this parlay?
I feel good. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't go with our guy Westbrook-Akine here, but I feel you. I think Lawrence is a little bit of a safer option, given that he's going to be on the field every down for the Jaguars. We know Njoku is going to do the same, and Taylor. So you have 3 very high snap rates here, so kind of high floor touchdown bets, which we like.
And also in the anytime touchdown prop projections powered by Action Pro, all 3 of these props have edges right now on their odds. So again, just one of the things too about parlays, you almost want to stack the edges and make that a little bit easier. Oh, we are getting some inactive news. Chris Rodriguez and Darnell Mooney are inactive for today.
It's Bill time. It's Bill time. Bill time up in Washington. It's Bill time.
So we just dropped the link in the YouTube chat for that parlay, and you can build this parlay. You can add it right to your bet slip. But yeah, Darnell Mooney inactive. That's huge for Grant's Drake London touchdown bet
Casey
as well.
Washington. So, gotta get some Casey Washington anytime touchdown for the Falcons. I don't know what the number is, but whatever it is, you want it.
Yeah,
he was given a starter's treatment all preseason.
Raybon, dude. That's all for us today, man. Action Playbook Live. We're locked and loaded now. All right, so I just want to remind everybody, Action Playbook Live, we're going to be back here every Sunday from now until the Super Bowl at 11 a.m. Eastern on the Action Network YouTube page. So if you missed the show, you want to get our picks, download the Action app. All of our bets are tracked here. You can get them as soon as we bet them with pick notifications. And we're going to be back here for Monday Night Football for Action Island. That's going to be live at 3 p.m. Eastern. So thank you again for joining us for Action Playbook Live for NFL Week 1. Bon chance.